Woo, man, we're recording.
Take 2.
Man, that was
fun. It's like this. It wasn't the screen of death. It was the tone of death.
Yeah, some kind of I don't even know what it was. It was telling me it was aborting something it couldn't handle, whatever, and I'm just too busy trying to click and hit retry, not realizing that didn't record we lost our recording. So
yeah, but we can do it again. We're that good.
Well, yeah, and the news didn't change.
No, it didn't. It did not. You know the one thing we didn't do?
What? We didn't get a Lucy report.
We didn't get a Lucy update. Yeah.
So we'll do this up front then.
Yeah, because, for all those that don't know, my wife and I have a brand new, well, she's 3 weeks in the house now.
Is it 3?
Is it 3 weeks or 2?
I was thinking like
no, we got her in
4.
January. We got her in January 17th.
Yeah, so we should be approaching a month.
Yeah, a month now. And she's almost double the size.
Oh, yeah.
When she was a pup, which is kind of fun.
Well, it's funny when I was out there eating lunch and the way she was acting, it was like she was the curious, like the terrible twos.
Oh, yeah. She really was, yeah.
Let's see what I can get away with now.
She's definitely a handful. She's a lot of fun, though. She's really learning really fast. She's pretty much toilet trained. She's potty trained already. She knows to go to the door. Which
well, it's
is
not
good.
like you're going to give her back anyways.
No, but that's the big challenge in a house because, we have light-colored furniture and light-colored carpet. And that's always the concern is the dog. How many, is she going to force you into buying new flooring? Because that's the one thing that you always worry about.
Yeah, your dog plays a part in the interior design.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Joanna Gaines has nothing on Lucy. She'll force you into a new decor really quick. No, she's doing good. I mean, like I said, she's growing like a weed. She's retrieving. Actually, she fetches and retrieves really well for being 11 weeks old.
Yeah,
and she's doing really good. But anyway, that's the update on her. It's funny because we started off this podcast talking about just the silliest thing.
Yeah, the things that pop up in the news.
Yeah, it's just crazy. We were talking about there's a one ad floating around in Sri Lanka. So if you're interested, if you're looking for work,
if you're in the neighborhood,
and you just got kind of tired of being in the United States of America for a change,
and you're looking for a new challenge,
and you want to meet interesting people and then hang them,
right?
Sri Lanka has a job for you.
Yeah, they have 2 openings actually. So
it's going to be competitive. So get in there, get your resume in there quick. Practice your knot tying skills because that's going to be a big part of this job.
And you can't be a dirtbag.
That's right. You have to pass a background check for this job.
Right.
But what did you say? They have 1,400. They have 1,400 people ready to execute. Right.
Yeah, because backstory is Sri Lanka just reinstated their death penalty, and the current president of Sri Lanka turns out is a huge fan of the president of the Philippines, who is very hard line when it comes to punishment. And so he in the story I read, he was quite impressed with how effective the Philippine justice system moved as far as like from arrest to handing down the final sentence, whatever that is. And so Sri Lanka, they had this huge backlog of drug traffickers because it's a Islamic country, and so that's the first priority is to get rid of the drug traffickers, and there's 1,400 of them. So that make sure that if you are a candidate for this job, that there's going to be overtime probably.
Yeah, you're going to be busy for a little bit. Yeah, so like I said, just start going to YouTube and learn how to tie knots.
Yeah.
I think it's 13 circular knots and a slip knot that uses with a noose, but it has to fall a certain way to break your neck. So just practice up.
And then like your math, because there's a math equation, all that too.
Oh,
so
there you go.
How much, the weight,
yeah,
all that stuff. So yeah,
that's true. Remember the old westerns where they always had John Carradine was the traveling hangman in all the westerns?
Is that the one who he would go to places and build his own gallows and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was like a business for him. He would just start the circuit through the territories and hang people. That's a hell of a job. That might be a startup business for some entrepreneurs out there. Just get you a portable gallows.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I mean, it's cheaper than lethal injection.
Well, that and it's almost, it definitely is one of the most oldest skill. I guess what exactly would you?
Well,
call
the guillotine would be the first. I think the guillotine or beheading would be the first way they used to do people.
Yeah, but you have a cleanup after that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, if you do it in the garden, though, it's good for the dirt.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in the army, blood's what makes the grass grow.
There you go. That's right. But yeah, so that's one of the news stories. What's funny is there's three news stories in the news this week. You kind of got to wonder what's going on with how you frame, because me, I'm an NLP guy.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that nothing gets advertised or broadcasted without reason or intent.
Right.
And so the second one, we're gonna move to good old Lawton, Oklahoma.
So first off,
you want to go there?
The sourcing of all of this came from Reddit.
Yeah.
So the only thing that we are guilty of is reading Reddit.
Right.
So yes. So was it the Lawton one?
Yeah. Lawton, Oklahoma.
The meteorologist,
KSWO news station out there. They just recently fired this meteorologist.
Yeah, because she called it a brain teaser.
And I thought it was. So we've had a really rash of bad weather rolling through the Midwest and North and Southeast Texas for over the last month.
Sure.
I mean, there for a while it rained almost every day. Lots of wind. It was just all kinds of stuff going on.
Right.
And so anyway, she shows up live on the show, and she has this brain teaser, and it's an eraser board, and she has the word "there" written out with a hangman's noose on the T. So when you see that, Sam, what does that clue make you think of?
Well, I didn't really go there at first. I just was trying to figure out why the noose was there, and
right.
And in the story, they were more concerned with, at least how I read it, is who put it there. But
yeah. So her clues were hang in there,
right? So when we were reconstructing this before we went live or recording, it was cold weather, and you're letting your viewers know that, hey, you've got more weather coming on the way.
Yeah, just hang in there.
Essentially, hang in there.
So the phones start ringing,
right?
And apparently, a lady complained. She felt it was racially insensitive.
Yeah, it was. It was taken out of context.
Way out of context. How do you miss that? First of all, how do you fucking miss that? At the end, I mean, really? Okay. I mean, it's a wordplay. Okay,
yes.
It's no different than Michelle Obama holding a sign up there that says "Bring them back," or all these other people that use that goofy ass hold the sign and take a selfie picture of. And all she was doing was trying to add levity to a bad weather week and saying, hang in there. When does it become racial?
The thing that's crazy is that, I remember as a kid seeing these posters where you'd have a cat hanging from a tree limb.
Hang in there, baby.
Hang in there, baby. So, somebody tries to do their own version of it on live TV.
Yeah.
Somebody catches wind of it while they're watching. And, for all I know, it could have been somebody who described something to somebody who never watched this show.
Right.
And they just run with the ball and make this story gain traction and give it national attention when it was well below that type of a deserving title.
Yeah, I mean, come on. This is silly. There was no overt direction pointed other than hang in there, the weather's going to get better.
Yeah.
To try to debate it any further is useless, and it would make us as bad as the people that made a big deal about
it.
Because at the end of the day, they called it. Well, so when KSWO let her go, they put out this really bloviated statement on social media.
It's like a bunch of words make things better.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't tolerate racially insensitive, anti-Semitic, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I got that. You shouldn't tolerate that stuff.
But
you're accusing her of something that was completely innocent.
Yeah, that's how I look at it is she's immediately guilty.
Yeah.
Because
she's white?
Right.
Honestly, at the end of the day, that's what it sounds like to me. It's because she was a blonde white woman that was using a wordplay.
Right.
and it got turned into what the narrative wanted it to be. They reshaped that. You know me, I'm an NLP guy.
So squeaky wheel gets the oil.
That's all it is.
So we have to appease the people that are complaining.
It's Pavlov's dog all the way around. Ring the bell, the dog drools.
And
okay.
The thing that's kind of sad is this lady who did something, I feel, which was very harmless.
Yeah.
Was trying to make light of what was going on with, harsh weather conditions. And then suddenly she gets painted as being something that she's not, because somebody took something out of context and starts complaining, and the only way you can make the complaining stop is to do this very rash reaction, which is to fire them for being something that they're not.
Right. Yeah, and that happens a lot. We're seeing a lot more of that, more now than we ever have.
Yeah.
I mean, was it in the handbook, KSWO? Did you put out a handbook that says that type of thing was inappropriate?
Right.
Did you just, because if I would love to be your lawyer. I would love to go back at those guys.
Well, so to play the devil's advocate here, so I'm sure that I would think that before you go on the air, that, and I think this is kind of, it's smart, but yet it's, this is the society that we live in.
Right.
So before you go on the air, you kind of float an idea past an editor or a producer or something that says, I'm going to do this.
Right.
Do you see a problem with this? Now, if everybody in the room arrives at the same conclusion, like you said, hang in there, then that's almost like people giving the thumbs up. Hey, so everybody sees the same thing that she was, what her intent was. So now you've got the outcome that you have now.
But say that happens, okay? Say everybody did give it thumbs up. But when shit hits the fan, it's not distributed evenly, okay? And she's the one.
And they didn't come to her defense.
Oh, nobody will. No, and I will tell you, we live in a world of chicken shits, man.
Right.
Everybody's afraid of getting anything on them.
A society of cannibals.
Oh, for sure it is. And it's being engineered that way, there's no doubt. But yeah, so anyway, shame on you, KSWO. That to me was a chicken shit move on your part. To me, you're racist, you're insensitive, and you're the ones at fault here. Okay?
Right.
All you had to do is issue a retraction and say, look, this was meant as a wordplay, much like we described it, and this thing would have went away just fine.
Right.
It would have been just fine. So the next Noose story we're going to talk about are 3 teachers are put on leave after a Noose image was found in a photo collage at a Roosevelt school district. It's a middle school.
Is this the one? Is this the New Jersey one?
Yeah, this is the New Jersey
Okay.
one. And there, and so, this one here is a little tricky. Okay, so when you look at it, so 3 teachers have been put on paid administrative leave while the district investigates the incident, which a pair of the nooses were displayed in a photograph collage in a classroom. Okay. Here's how they open it. They don't tell you much about the story, but they tell you about the Board of Education's position related to this issue.
So, okay, so the reason why there's sort of a chuckle on my side, because number one is when I found this story, I was laughing because there's this sensational title that they called it Back to School Necklaces.
Right.
And there is this picture of a noose that somehow got, how it made its way into the school, and I'll let you finish. But
it was on a collage. It was a photo collage. You know how teachers get together and everything has a theme. They have T-shirts. They name certain.
They collaborate.
Yeah, they do a lot of this stuff. And to think about how hard it is to be a teacher. First of all, it sucks. It's gotta suck because parents drop their kids off in your lap, expect you to manage their kids, and they're supposed to come home just these perfect darlings.
And the teachers have to think of ways to get their kids and their students engaged.
Yep, that's right.
So they've always have to be forward thinking.
Right.
And that's how I imagine this collage or this collaboration was put together.
So I'm sure there's something we don't know about why the connotation of the noose being a necklace was there. I interpret it as there's something holding us back. There's a problem here somewhere. So here's what's funny. So I think where I'm going to go with this is that there's some deep-rooted issue inside that district that have put those teachers on some kind of defensive positioning. Okay.
Okay.
And I think when this is all said and done, you're going to find that there's a problem with the administration in that school district.
Like a systemic problem?
Yes, a systemic problem, not related to race or sex or anything like that, but just in the mismanagement of the teachers.
Okay.
And I think this may have been some kind of silent revolt in some way, or some inside coping joke.
Okay.
Could have been a coping joke. I think it's still too early to tell what's really going on here, because I know they put 3 teachers on paid leave. I got that.
Which is, I mean, it's sort of it's the first step.
It is. And the second step is for sure to put your statement out there,
right,
saying we don't condone these offensive images, because they had a town hall meeting about it. They had a town hall meeting, and it was full of a bunch of so the school is basically it's not quite 50-50 minority versus I guess others. I don't know, what would you call people? I just call them people.
I mean, it's people who live in the district.
Just a bunch of people live there. And so anyway, apparently somebody got offended, called a meeting. So they have this basically witch hunt. It's a freaking witch hunt.
And that's so when we were talking in the other episode that is never to be, when we were talking about these news stories, basically almost everyone that we've covered is. Because of social media, and I guess whatever the ramifications of every one of those stories is, social media allows it to live in perpetuity.
For sure.
You don't want the 15 minutes of fame of whatever the significance of this story is to go away if you're trying to draw attention to some cause yourself, whatever it is.
I think I was using the word vomit on there earlier,
and we're going to say, we need to say vomit a bunch of times, because we need to make sure this word catches on.
Because that's what's going on here. So I'm not going to give the guy's name, because I'm not giving this guy any time.
Is this the
preacher?
Yes.
Okay, so you get these preachers that jump in this fray, and what they do is they use as an opportunity to stir up the collection plate. I don't see that as anything other than that.
So was he also, well, obviously the pastor acted as the social leader of the area, right?
Yeah.
Was he?
They always do.
Was he hand in hand with another politician that was
there was no picture of him. All I know is he was reached for comment, or he made himself available for comment. And so what I think is what's sad here is, again, we are jumping to action before we finish the investigation. And so what you've done is you're not appeasing an angry crowd. What you're doing is you're training an angry crowd.
Well, you're executing.
Yeah, you are basically empowering something that you really shouldn't be empowering, because now what ends up happening is, if people complain, we're just going to change our path. It's just like sticking your finger up front of running water. It's just going to flow around that finger until it hits the next finger. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you sit there and we talked about 3 stories. One of them I thought had a valid, it was substantial. We're going to hang dudes.
Right.
Okay. But the other 2 stories we talked about, people got hung because of that symbol. So at the end of the day, when did the noose become a racist symbol? I mean, does that mean you can't play hangman anymore? Did you ever play hangman when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, what are we going to do? Ban ropes now?
No.
If you tie a knot that looks like a loop, you're going to go to jail? I mean, what the hell is this shit?
Do you remember me telling you my story at my old employer? Okay, so we had an employee who was of that mentality. Is he would see things, and then in his head, he would construct it to fit whatever his narrative was. So he often went the racist route, where he would see something, whether it was the tone of voice that somebody used, and compare, somebody spoke to me in a tone of voice that was different than the way that they spoke to him, because he had a very tenuous relationship with my old boss. And so when I was I guess a lead engineer for one of the places I was at. This guy was put under me to kind of work with me on various projects. So one day we had a very large project going on with our environmental management stuff. We were having filters changed, and it's a contracted service. So a company comes out of the Northeast somewhere. Anyway, he was up there because we were 100% escort, and he took a picture of a noose on the roof and went and had a private meeting with our manager to discuss this thing that he found on the roof, because we had construction going on at the time. So he tried to portray that.
So what was the noose on the roof for?
So the noose on the roof was a tool. The guys who were bringing the filters up on the roof
were using it
to bundle sling loads together to drag up the side of the building to put these filters in these units. That was what it was for. When we have video cameras everywhere.
So real leaders would sit there and say, "Dude, cool your jets.
Right.
We're using this to lift filters. Okay, cool your jets." It was part of a clue on a brain teaser. Okay, I mean, come on.
So how we put this to rest was the two contractors that were with this company doing the work. One of the guys was a black guy, and he happened to pull us off to the side, and because my boss asked him directly, "Look, I'm not trying to upset you in any way, but this is what's being stated that this was found. What's going on?" And the guy, in confidence with the lawyer or with my boss at the time, said, "We were using this to bring our boxes up on the side of because we don't have a lift of any kind to do this. So we had to do this." So, and he said, "And your employee on top of this told me not to say anything." So I was like, now we're talking about sort of collusion in a way.
Yeah, it is collusion.
So, and so we'd already figured out that this is an employee that you're not going to be able to rehabilitate. So, no.
Yeah, so I'm having an aneurysm. Just give me a minute. This is like out of control stupid. So I'm reading through the verbiage of this article, and so what they do is they throw in these images just so they can stick to your head. They want you to realize that this one in New Jersey offended people that had mental illness or thoughts of suicide.
What was that? Was this?
Any content that makes light of mental illness, whether or not it's intended to be a joke, is both absolutely inappropriate and unacceptable.
So why not just make visual news and media outlawed?
For sure. The second thing they said on this one here was that the depiction of a noose can be considered offensive to many, and they equate it to the equal of a swastika for those who are Jewish. That's a little extreme. I mean, gee, many Christmas.
Now, the first thing I would ask is, okay, if you're gonna source your answers from somewhere, if you were neither a black person, or you were neither
a survival,
a
suicide survivor, or a Holocaust survivor.
If you're neither, tell me who you talk to give you your answers, because as far as I'm concerned, you're qualified to give the answers to. You can't give an opinion on it.
Yeah, well, I could see if people are running around with trying to lasso people and hang them, I can see where this would be a problem to some, but that doesn't go on anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. So I mean, look, I understand that people can intentionally do things and mean it, but we have literally talked about 4 instances now to where this is an innocent item, an inanimate item that has been reframed and depicted and presented as a symbol of hate. Okay? Innocently, images projected. But my biggest thing is, why are all of a sudden in this place and time all 4 of these things? It's like the perfect storm. We're getting it from all 4 sides that meet in the middle, And all of a sudden, the Noose is now
The focal point.
the focal point.
Now, with, I guess, with all the different outlets that you can go view a news story or gather an opinion about a news story, whether it's, through your local, app like Nextdoor or something like that, about a subject, the thing that kind of the thing that just kind of that kind of occurred to me is, okay, all these people that we're talking about, the meteorologist, the teachers that were putting like this collage of stuff together, the employee, and the people that will be hired to do this whole hangman thing.
Right.
Yeah. So we want to concentrate on essentially good people who stumble and make a mistake only because there are people out there that misconstrue a message or a visual image as being something that it's not.
Yeah.
And I want to crucify them instead of truly going after the dirt bags that are out there, because you're letting the dirt bags fly under the fucking radar because you're attacking people who are truly good people.
Right. Well, I think it's funny because, again, I'm going to go back to my whole thing about management and administrators and all these boards that we see thundering down upon the common guy,
right,
that makes this little mistake. I would suggest this. I would suggest that everybody just get together and make coloring books with all these offensive things.
Uh-huh.
And get yourself a box of crayons and only keep it to the primary colors. Okay? Red, blue, green, yellow, orange.
How does this make you feel?
Yes. And then get these coloring books with all these offensive symbols. Okay? And give them these books, and as they color them, you just beat them with a fucking stick. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Bad picture. Bam! Don't paint, don't do this. And just go do that, because that's what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're firing people, okay? And you're making them unhireable.
That don't deserve it.
They don't deserve it, and you're making them unhireable. Because when somebody looks at that and they do a background check, or you're not going to lie about, I was dismissed from the news station. What for? Well, I held up a picture with the word there, and then I had a Hangsman News. Oh, no. Sorry, interview's over. See you later. I mean, that carries weight. That actually is worse than the unintended consequence. Because I remember when I was a kid, and if you offered the opportunity to me as a kid to miss school, oh, you look like you don't feel good. Yeah, I don't feel good today. Well, maybe you ought to stay home today. Okay. Even though I felt great, I just didn't want to go to school.
Right.
You're given, you're taking an audience now, and you're training an audience to be responsive to this kind of crap.
So, and I'm going to do the reverse. You've made a victim of somebody who truly wasn't,
I didn't even know they were.
They had no clue. They
clue.
had no malicious intent whatsoever. So let's say that you're going to go out and look for a job. Mm-hmm. So here's how I'm going to tell the story. That's the administrator that maliciously labeled somebody a racist because, according to their school of tactics of how they handle provocative situations like this, is to fire them.
Yeah.
And they would make an excellent choice for HR or something.
Well, I say we start looking into the background of these administrators, because what I think is really funny, and this is not political in any form or fashion because it can happen in all parties. We had this discussion the other day about the Republican this and the Democrat that. Well, quite honestly, I don't like parties, because I think parties forces you to compromise in too many ways.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm looking at all of us as just Americans trying to get along in this country. Now, when we realize that, at the end of the day, your race, your religion, your creed, whatever you identify yourself with, you're still living under the umbrella of America. Uh-huh. Okay? When you stop letting all these fraternal type corporate conglomerate management mentalities start taking over what you can think and say and do, the power comes back to you. And what we need to do is hold them accountable. Okay? I want to look at all these people making these decisions. I'm talking about the news media. Start looking at all these people that are running all these news channels. Find out what their affiliations are. Let's look at their sins.
One short for you better give as good as you get, because if you can't, then you may want to withhold judgment on certain things.